Hey Gators and sports fans, get all your Gator talk, news, analysis, and opinions on the Pod Up with Matthews in the Morning podcast. Find us on your favorite podcast platform or watch us on Facebook Live between 8 a.m. and 9 a.m. every weekday. Pod Up, because we are Gator fans. So say it's great to be a Florida Gator.
How many days has it been since the Gators played, QB? How many days? Do you know?
I want to say it's been at least 2 weeks, so about close to 14 days.
That's a long time.
The last game we played was against Stony Brook. They say here we have no audio, so we'll get the our folks back at the home office to fix the audio. But we'll keep talking in the meantime.
Okay, we're good now. Then
y'all should be able to hear now, folks.
Well,
can y'all hear now? Can you hear me?
I can hear you, QB.
I know you can hear me.
All right. Well,
so real quick, and I was going to get to this, but a lot of people are chiming in now. Hold your thought on basketball, JC. Mike Peterson, former linebacker, played a long time in the National Football League, been coaching at South Carolina, has been hired by Billy Napier. Tremendous hire. There's also word out there that he may hire Chris Rump, who was here before, who's now with the Chicago Bears. Got to wait till their season's over. So those would be two extremely nice hires. So we'll talk more about that as the show goes on. But yeah, basketball, we've not played since Stony Brook, which I want to say we played Stony Brook the day before we had the Gasparilla Bowl. That's how long ago it was.
Yeah, I'm sure you will expand on that with Chris on how the team's done these last 14 days, not playing a basketball game. But, this is a big game, big challenge. You've got a very good team coming in here, and I think it'll be a good eye-opener for Florida either way it goes. So I think you'll see a good crowd tonight, I would think, anyway. And it should be a good way to open the SEC season. For Alabama, I think is 1-0. I think they beat Tennessee, so they're 1-0 in the SEC or something like that. So, yeah, you're going to see a really talented team coming here. I think Florida this will help them see where they stand, I guess.
Well, the stretch they have coming up, and like I said, Chris will talk more about it. I don't know if I've ever seen anybody go through what they're getting ready to go through the next 4 games in conference play. Alabama, Auburn, LSU, and maybe Tennessee. I can't remember.
That is as hard.
We could lose every one of them.
Oh, easily. But you could also go 2-2 and feel pretty good about yourself. So, you're right. I mean, LSU is a very talented team. Won last night, beat Kentucky at home. Tennessee's got players everywhere running up and down the court. I'm surprised that Arkansas has lost their first 2 games in basketball, but in the SEC, a good win for Vanderbilt the other day or last night. So Florida, we don't know yet, do we? I mean, this is kind of a big question mark, and we're going to find out a lot about what these guys are made of here, like you said, here in the next 4 or 5 games. Yeah.
If you missed it last night, bowl season's over. LSU.
Thank God that game was over.
Give them credit, though, man.
I do.
I only watched a little bit of it because I had to go speak last night. But give them credit, man. I mean, I know they weren't very competitive, but hell, they could have folded tent and said we ain't going. But the kids wanted to play, and I love that.
Yeah, they got a paycheck and they wanted to get out there and run around. And it wasn't the LSU team we're used to seeing, but good for Kansas State. They get the win. Those games that we had some really good bowl games looking back, and we had some real duds, but that happens every year. It's nothing different. And, I think we ended up with, again, the two best teams playing for a championship, which is the goal of the committee. And they, regardless of how the semifinal games go, if you look at those four teams, who else would you have put in there instead of Cincinnati? So I think it was right. I think everything was done right. If we're going to go with four teams like we are next season and probably the season after that until they expand. Now, the commissioners of every conference are meeting in Indianapolis this week, and actually right now or tonight or tomorrow or whenever this weekend, I want to say it is actually Saturday. They're getting ready to meet tonight and tomorrow. What I meant to say is they're going to meet this weekend in Indianapolis. They're going to continue this discourse about the playoffs and expanding college football's postseason. This, to me, is necessary if you want to stop the funnel of players into the same schools that basically play every year at this time. If that's what you're looking to do by expanding the opportunities for other schools to get in there, where kids from California will not go to Ohio and Alabama and Florida and Georgia to play football and will think about maybe staying home, you have to expand the field. You have to give them a shot to say, you know what, kid, UCLA has a chance to actually play in a playoff this year because we got 12 teams playing for it. And maybe you want to stay at home right now and play for Chicago. I don't know. The point is that it won't, folks who want to go back to two teams or keep it where it is now or not expand just don't understand that if you're going to diversify, create more opportunities, create more financial benefits, this has to happen. If it doesn't happen, you're going to see the same thing happen over and over again, and people are going to talk about it, complain about it every year, the same like they do every year. And that's not going to change anything. Alabama, Georgia, Ohio State, Clemson. If you want to see more teams,
it doesn't matter if they change it to 64 teams.
No, but I think it will help, though. It will help keep some of these players from going across the country to play football in the South. Now, I don't mind. Listen, I'm glad that Alabama gets guys from California and Hawaii and wherever to play football at their tiny little hamlet in West Central Alabama. But if you expand the playoffs, you offer more opportunities for other teams to say, listen, we can get in the postseason too. Then maybe you won't have as many opt-outs. Maybe you will have more kids stay closer to home. I'm just saying this is what the proponents of expansion want, and I understand their point quite clearly, I think.
Well, the bigger issue than the playoffs is the transfer portal. They have got to do something immediately, especially with this NIL stuff. They're going to have to cap it. I mean, it's worse than the National Football League will ever be. The NFL has a period where you have free agency, and then you have salary caps. Okay. There's none of that in college football right now. Caleb Williams is reportedly been offered by Georgia over $2 million to go play quarterback there.
Yeah, it's called free agency, QB.
But it's not free agency, JC.
It is free agency. It's absolutely free agency.
So you tell me
it's free agency.
You could go play there next year, go into the transfer portal again next year.
Well, how many times are you allowed to go in the transfer portal as a college
right now? It doesn't matter.
You can go every year
as you want.
So you can hop to. I thought it was only once.
No, right now there is nothing like that.
So in the traditional sense, maybe it's not free agency because there are contracts that the players that are free agents usually have to abide by. But if you sign a short-term deal, listen, scholarships only last 1 year, my man. If you're going to do this for, if you're going to cap or stop players from hopping around like this, then you better do the same thing for coaches. I mean, coaches leaving their schools before the end of the season, unlike they're allowed to do in the NFL during the season, is ridiculous, and it's all promoted by the early signing period in December. That has to change too. So there are a lot of things these commissioners need to talk about other than expansion. I agree with you on that.
I'm just saying that college football is in serious trouble right now.
Well, it's changing, and you have to change.
It's not changing. It's going. There is no loyalty, whether it's the coach, whether it's the player. I don't give a damn who you want to put the blame on, but there is. JC, think about this though. What if somebody comes and offers your quarterback at Alabama? Let's just say he's from the state of California. What if Lincoln Riley says, you know what, we're in LA. We're going to give you $5 million and he leaves. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Well, I think they'll come up with some solutions to this because
Well, they
I
better
agree.
do it fast. is my point.
Well, the first thing that has to happen to me is you got to tell these coaches no hopping around during the season.
I'm taking the coaches out of it. There's only a handful of coaches
has
that move.
a lot to do
We're
with
talking
it, my
thousands of players.
I don't think Caleb Williams leaves Oklahoma if Lincoln Riley doesn't leave Oklahoma.
No, he doesn't.
Right. So it does have to do with the coaches. And it also means that you've got to change this early signing period time. You got to get it out of December. You got to push it back or start it in August. It's either one or the other. Go one way or the other, but get it out of December. Because a lot of this, I think, is due to the fact that people have to react quickly and some are faster than others. And while some are playing games, others are out there recruiting. Saban used to say, this is great. I'm playing in the postseason while everybody else I play against during the season is out there recruiting. Well, I can't do that. And, here's my coach, Dan Lanning at Georgia. He's going to Oregon, but he's coaching in this game. Same thing happened with Alabama staff. Every year it happens with Alabama staff. The attrition, the turnover. Kirby Smart was coaching in that championship game, and then he went to Georgia. If he hadn't had a championship game, he would have left a long time prior to that. So it's just the way the world is. You can hate it or not like it, but the way it is, when the Supreme Court said you can pay these kids, it was a resounding yes, then things started to domino, and that's why.
Well, it's not. My whole point is it's not college football. And here's the thing: I have no problem with the Alabamas, the Georgias, the Ohio States, the Clemson. I can tell you right now, I can give you 5 to 10 teams that are going to play for the national title in the next 10 years. That's not the problem. The problem is that it's not college football anymore. Not one person gives a 2 craps about going to class. And I'm fine with that. So let's don't call it college football anymore, because the NIL, I'm telling you, is going to screw college athletics. If a guy gets a car deal, you get free chicken down here, I have no problem with any of that. But when you start a bidding war for players, it is not college athletics anymore. They have to do something about it. So we might as well. It's just the genie to use the cliche here. The genie is out of the bottle, QB. You're not going back to the traditional sense where loyalty mattered necessarily, and only coaches got rich. That's just not going to happen anymore. That will not go back. You can hate it all you want. You can call it different names. Whatever it is changing, and you have to change with it, or else you will be left behind. It's that simple. Right. So you're sitting here and telling me you enjoy this new free agency.
It doesn't matter what I enjoy. What matters is this is what's happening, and you have to either deal with it or not. When Nick Saban got run around by Johnny Manziel and their defense couldn't figure out Kevin Sumlin, they adjusted. And then Alabama became very good on defense.
That's the dumbest analogy I've ever heard.
Well, it's called change, QB. You change.
Okay. So here's the thing.
Adapt. It's called adapting. You have to adapt.
How would you like it if Boone T. Pickens was still around? Okay. What if he stroked a check?
It's T. Boone.
T. Boone, whatever his name is. What if he stroked a check to every top 100 players, or let's say the top 85 players in America, for $5 million each? Nobody else could match that offer. And now it's not like the NFL, you have salary caps. Every team has to play by the same rules. This is getting ready to be, it's already top heavy. It's getting ready to be even more top heavy than it is, because like I said, Georgia's offering over $2 million for a quarterback to play college football. It's the dumbest damn thing I've ever heard.
Well, who's paying that, QB? It's not the school.
No, but their boosters are paying.
Then. Well, that's
what I'm saying.
Everybody has boosters, QB.
I understand it, but it's not college football.
Again, I get that.
It's not about adjusting.
I understand that.
I'm just telling you right now.
You adapt or you fall behind.
There's no adapting. It's about paying players.
There's no adapting. That's what we're doing right now. We're seeing schools lose coaches. We're seeing players
give a damn if a coach leaves. I have no problem with players being able to transfer.
That's who these players sign with. It's their coaches. QB, they don't care if it's Florida or Georgia, Tennessee, South Carolina. They go where the coaches who recruit them give them the best opportunities and the families the best sales job. It's a sales job. I've told you about this forever.
I understand. Look, you've never sat in a recruiting meeting, so don't hear and tell me what a sales job is.
It's what it is. That's what
I know what it is. I'm just telling you that college football, college sports is in huge trouble. And you're talking about players, you're talking about people in the damn, think about this. You know, I told you when NIL started that you're going to have problems in the locker room, which there have been problems in the locker room. You don't tell me that if Caleb Williams goes and gets $2 or $3 million for the Georgia Bulldogs, and you've got a couple other 4 or 5 star recruits that signed with Georgia, and they automatically pay this guy to come in there and be their quarterback. That ain't right, JC. How can you say it's right? It's not about that's the new way things are going.
You just don't listen when I talk. It just goes in one ear and out the other.
No,
I mean, I've told you over and over again.
I've been in locker rooms. It doesn't matter. You've never been in a locker room. I'm just telling you.
This isn't about being in locker rooms, QB. Don't try to play this with me. I don't care where you've been or where I've been. I'm telling you what's happening today.
I know what's happening. That's what we're talking about on the damn show.
But the point is that it's changing, and if you don't change with it, you're going to be left behind. Is all I'm trying to say.
I have no problem. That's fine. It's changing. I have no bearing on what happens. I'm just telling you my opinion that it's ruining the sport.
I don't know. It sounds like the TV numbers are through the roof, QB.
That has nothing to do with the TV numbers. Have nothing to do with ruining the sport.
The TV numbers are why you have what you have today. The TV
my God,
numbers,
you're not listening to what I'm talking. I don't give a damn about the TV, the ratings, or anything.
You're
I'm
saying
talking about the sport of college football, the sport of college basketball. Paying these players is not the right thing to do.
Then take it up with the Supreme Court. Take it up with Ed O'Bannon.
Look,
take it up with those people. That is why it is what it is. Because the players got tired of not getting something from this other than a scholarship that is renewable every year. When their coaches haul ass on them after they sign literally 3 months before. That was what was right with college football. You have a system today that funnels the best players to literally the same schools most of the time, and you've admitted that already. We can make it better. Instead of complaining what's wrong with college football, try to figure out how to make it better.
Okay, well then how do you make it better? You have a bidding war for the best players where there's no cap. That is not making it better.
I'm telling you how to make it better. I've already told you a couple things. I've said get rid of the early signing period, expand the playoffs. You know, these schools are about to make more money than they've ever made in their history.
I don't think expanding the playoffs have anything to do with this.
Expanding the playoffs has everything to do with it. If you're going to expand the chances for these schools to diversify and get more of the pie, everybody gets more of the piece of the pie, QB. It can't be the same.
What I'm saying is, schools here's what I'm saying. You're still going to have people opting out. I mean, have you been
watching this?
You're still going to have people opting out. You're still going to have blowouts. So my point is, it's not going to matter. It's not going to matter. I'm just telling you.
If you realize that this is inevitable, what's happening, and then you finally understand that when the money is paid, things will change. The TV contracts that these conferences are about to sign are going to create expansion, whether you like it or not.
I don't care whether I like it or not. I'm just telling you the overall picture
this is what's happening
of a college athlete sitting around for it to be bid on is not right. That is my point. Whether it's going to happen, we know it's going to happen. Things are changing. I'm telling you, it's not right.
I don't know. Your definition of right and maybe Caleb Williams' definition of right could be very different.
Because Caleb Williams is not thinking of loyalty to a school and wanting to, in 30 years, when you've played for 3 different teams, you're playing in the National Football League, big freaking deal. I'm just telling you because, everybody talks about you go back and you wish you would have done this, wish you would have done that. Now, look, if Lincoln Riley's still there, he's probably not leaving. But he's talking about going somewhere where he can be developed for the next level. Well, there's only about 2 schools that he can go to for that, in my opinion. And Georgia ain't one of them.
Well,
so basically, he's going to who's going to pay him the most money, which I just don't think right for college athletics. That's just my opinion.
Okay, and you're right. The agents now are involved in college athletics in the traditional sense. Those days are over, and I'm trying to tell you that quit thinking.
I know those days are over, JC.
Start thinking about how to make it better. And
we can't make it better.
Yes, you
it's
can
getting
make
worse.
It better.
It's getting worse.
Well, listen. Here's the thing. You're going to see every school, and this is not worse. This is better. Every school is going to have more funding, more resources, more money, more opportunities, bigger facilities, nicer stadiums, things are getting better in that regard because television is what's driving this. And these conferences are going to expand because of television. You gave me all kind of pushback years ago on the radio when I told you that Texas A&M and Missouri going to the SEC was a good thing, and you laughed at me and said, we don't need Missouri.
Missouri's a terrible team in our conference.
You know what?
Have you ever been there?
They're about to get $90 million, QB.
It ain't going to make them any better.
How can it not make them better? How can it not?
Right here,
How can it not make them better?
Joseph says on Facebook, that doesn't matter, JC. Cincinnati making the playoffs here isn't going to help them get any better players that they already are getting. I do think the playoffs should be expanded, but I don't think it's going to help change the recruiting landscape. It's not.
Why?
It's not. It's going to be the same teams.
You don't think going to the Big 12 will help Cincinnati?
No, because they're going to lose more games. Financially, yes, maybe, but they're going to lose more games. You're going to sit here and tell me they're going to go 12-0 next year. Tell me that.
Oh my God, help me, Lord.
Tell me, are they going to go undefeated next year?
You know what?
Are they? Answer the question.
Why wouldn't they? I don't know.
They're going to beat Baylor. They're going to beat Baylor.
Listen, you didn't think they were going to go 12-0 this year, okay? You didn't say anything about Cincinnati. Listen, the point is
I'm
that
reading
things
what
are
our
getting.
listener says.
That's fine, and I'm responding to that. Isn't that what we do here?
Yes,
so
and what I'm saying is Cincinnati.
Yeah.
Yes, they played in the playoffs. Yes, going to the Big 12, they're going to get more money. It ain't going to make them a perennial powerhouse, and they are not going to win the Big 12. I can guarantee you that.
Guarantee it. Okay.
Guarantee it.
It's guaranteed, folks. All of a sudden, the great Baylor Bear team that you just saw the other night that you haven't paid attention to for your entire life is now the cream of the crop of the Big 12. Whatever. You know what? Cincinnati can get players too. It's called the transfer portal. It's called the new world that we living in, my man. And they can win the Big 12.
That's the same thing as saying that's equivalent to saying Mississippi State's going to get transfers all the time. Are they winning anything?
Well, we just started this new transfer world and NIL world that we're living in. This hasn't been going on for 20 years, QB. But I will tell you, in 2014, they did have 10 wins. Yeah. And I will tell you, they were ranked number 1 at the time. Yeah, I can tell you that because it happened.
Yeah,
but you didn't see that happen.
Where'd they end up after number 1? They ended up where?
You didn't see that happen either. I think the year they won 10 games. I think you told me they were going to win 6.
You're talking about one every 70 years. I'm talking about every year. So anyway,
the rules changing, things are going to get better for other teams.
I know college football is changing. My opinion says it's ruining the game.
I don't think so. I think the games are fine. I went to a game this weekend. It was just like any other game that I've been to in the last 20 years.
Because it hasn't taken place. I'm talking about what is moving forward. I'm just telling you.
Well,
I could be wrong. And here's the thing. I have zero problem admitting when I'm wrong. But I will tell you this, that paying these players and being bidding wars like the National Football League is not right, and it will ruin college sports.
Well, you better come up with solutions to save it then.
I'm not the one to do that, and there's nothing I can do about it. It's just like in politics. There ain't a damn thing you can do about it.
You can talk about it. You can talk about it and try to.
That's what we're doing on this show.
And by doing that, you can create change. Because the whole reason we're seeing all these changes is because
we can change.
QB, that's a bad attitude. That's one of those attitudes that says I lose and I'll never win again.
JC,
that's a losing attitude. That's a losing attitude, QB.
You just said
let me tell you,
we can make a change. How can JC change college football? How can you do anything about it?
You're being so simple-minded here. Things changed because people wanted them to change, QB. It wasn't one guy. It was many people. But it has to start somewhere. I mean, open up your mind a little bit here. The reason why we're seeing all these changes in college football is because people wanted it to happen. It didn't just happen because the sky is green or the sky is blue or somebody thinks the sky is orange. It happened because people wanted it to happen, and it has to start somewhere. You want to make football better because you're so scared it's going to go to hell? Then don't let it go to hell. Try to figure out ways to live with what is happening instead of worrying about, it's just not like the Cotton Bowl and the Big 8 when we voted on Notre Dame and Arkansas to play. No. I mean, gosh darn. That's not what we're living with anymore.
You're not listening either. My point is, I can have all the solutions, my opinions, my ideas, It ain't going to matter, JC. We're sitting in Gainesville, Florida.
Okay.
We have nothing to do with the NCAA.
Okay.
Okay. So you think you could change something? You think you can change something?
I think
if you had your mind made
people can
up?
change things if they want it to happen. You can do whatever you want. You can make anything happen. You know a lot of people in the business. You were in the business. You saying that you can't affect change just means you lose. And the reason
That's
why
the silliest thing I ever heard.
no, it's not, because Ed O'Bannon was a basketball player who changed everything.
Because it was about a stupid ass video game.
QB, it doesn't matter what it is. The point is he did it. And the fact is that anybody can do anything. You've got to try to fight for something if you want it to happen. And I don't know why you don't think that's possible. It's unbelievable to me. If everybody said the same thing you just said, you're right, nothing would change. But not everybody wants to say that. They want to say, well, you know what? Let's try and figure out a way to get our opinions to the boosters, to the president, to the administrators. I mean, if they don't hear from you, who are they going to hear from? If they don't hear from
I'm sure
anybody,
they hear from thousands of people.
Well,
they do.
That's right. That's exactly right. Thank you. You made my point then. I appreciate it.
The boosters in the athletic department they have nothing to do with the NIL. Nothing. The boosters do, but I'm saying the athletic department has nothing to do with it. What are you laughing about? They don't.
I just think you're crazy.
You know how the NIL works, JC?
You've given up, dude. You've given up. You're just giving up.
Do you know how the NIL works? Yes or no?
That it's called the NIL. It's name, image, and likeness.
But do you know how the process works?
What do you mean the process? What is a process? What is that? What are you talking about?
Can JC pay player X to represent your business? Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay. Does the UAA have anything to do with that?
I don't know.
You don't know the answer to that. The answer is they do not.
Okay.
The paperwork comes through. They don't say yes or no. They have no decision if it can be made, is my point.
Well, in Texas, high school kids can't get paid. So
I ain't talking about high school kids.
I'm just saying there are rules.
NIL.
Well, name, image, and likeness has something to do with high school kids now, too, because they're skipping their senior years to go to Ohio State.
I don't give a damn what happens in high school. I'm talking about college sports.
But this is where it comes from. High school kids turn into college kids. I mean, name, image, and likeness, that has to do with Quinn Ewers. He's the guy who went to Ohio State.
Jeff says here on Facebook Live, he says, I think Shane overestimates how much money wealthy people can or will pay players. Well, Jeff, I'm just telling you, there are schools out there getting ready to offer players $2 and $3 million. Okay, so somebody's going to pay it. Florida's not paying that kind of money as of right now. I can tell you that from what I'm hearing.
John Morgan can write a check.
Well, he must not want to, because
it's a business decision,
and he probably thinks the same way I do. I don't think any college player is worth that kind of money. And Caleb Williams had a hell of a year last year.
You know what it's called?
$2 million.
Here's what it's called. It's called a market. And what you don't think happens, some people think it does happen. It just depends. It's a business decision. It's all it is. And you don't have to pay for anything and watch what happens and just be happy with it. Or you can try to influence it and pay for it. And, that happens all the time everywhere we go in a free society. So
I understand all that. You're preaching to the choir. I'm just saying that a lot of, as he says, a lot of wealthy people probably agree with me that these college athletes, regardless, if we lose all our games, don't deserve to be paid. And we're not getting in a damn bidding war for players. Because right now, Florida, if Florida wanted to get in the mix, we should get in the bidding war for Caleb Williams. He's the number one quarterback in America when he came out of high school, and you saw what he did last year as a true freshman. But we're not. We're not going to get in the mix.
Well, Billy doesn't need it. Maybe Billy doesn't want him. I don't know
about that.
I don't know. Who knows? If you said Florida's not interested, that pretty much sums it up right there. So, there's lots of players out there, QB. There's lots of Caleb Williamses out there. Go find one. And you can. And so,
John says, didn't Billy hire someone on staff? Yeah, they have a whole department for NIL. What I'm trying to tell people here is the NIL, we have players at Florida right now that have NIL deals. Free food at Outback, a car here, a car there. That's fine. I have zero problem with that stuff. But when you start saying, I'm bringing this player in for $2 million.
Yeah, that's crazy.
It's going to affect your damn locker room. I'm telling you.
It's very, Bryce Young got paid, I think, a 7-figure deal, but that locker room's fine. But I do agree that it could.
But he
create some
also was
animosity.
already at the school, JC, and he's a proven player.
He was not proven before the season.
What would Bryce Young think if Nick Saban brought in Caleb Williams for $5 million?
I don't know what he would think, but I can tell you that
I can tell you exactly what he would think.
Bryce Young,
he would leave.
Was paid before the season. The locker room stayed intact remarkably, and he had a Heisman Trophy year. Okay. Do you think that $1 million matters?
Okay, that's a terrible analogy. You're not.
That's what happened.
I'm
not using an analogy. I'm telling you what happened. And the locker room.
I know. Everybody knew he was the number one quarterback coming to Alabama.
Locker room was fine.
They saw him playing. He was their starter.
He sat 1 year, watched Mac Jones, and then as a starter got paid a 7-figure deal before the first game.
How about this? Eric says, what happens if Georgia pays the player $2 million, and he sits out in a bowl game because he's concerned about getting hurt for the NFL? It's going to happen. It's going to happen. Okay. They're going to have to put stuff in writing. I'm telling you. It's a mess. It is a mess.
They probably will. I mean, there will probably be some things that come down the line. I mean, you got to remember, when you make big changes like this, you're basically experimenting until you figure out what works and what doesn't work. And that's probably going to happen. What you've been saying is likely going to happen. All I'm saying is get used to change because it's here, whether you want it or not.
Jason, getting used to change that's the dumbest statement I've ever heard. Everybody understands things change from year to year, but what is happening now is ruining the sport. If anybody wants to sit here and tell me that bidding on players in college athletics is okay, that's your opinion. I think it's the dumbest thing, and it's running the sports. Not just football.
We'll see. I mean, listen, these guys are going to meet. They're going to talk about expansion. They're going to talk about all the things that are affecting college football and all the things that are keeping you up at night. That I'm laughing at.
Don't keep me up. It doesn't bother me one bit. I just think it's ridiculous.
Okay.
All right, JC, we got to go. We got to get Chris here and talk basketball.
See Chris, we'll talk to you Friday.
That's JC Joints on the Titan MR Hotline. We'll be right back. We'll talk a little Gator hoops with Chris Harry.
We want to take this moment to thank all our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Meldon Law, won't back down. Peachland Dental, Gator Nation's first choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte. Comfort Temp, comfort is our business, peace of mind is our promise. QC Kinetics, live pain-free with QC Kinetics. Great Clips, it's gonna be great. Our Gridiron sponsors are Auto ER, UF Bookstores, Celebration Point Town Center, South State Bank, Chris Doring Mortgage, Silverback Concrete Co. Some of our touchdown sponsors are Campus USA Credit Union, Adams Rib Company, Doreen Wiebe Realtor, Caldwell Banker, MM Parish, Gator Dominoes, Celebrate Primary Care, Gator Bait Media, Rap Spot, Okito America, Gators Dockside, Style Cuts, Big Mills Cheesesteaks. If you are interested in promoting your business on the show, visit potupwithshane.com and click the advertise button. Again, thank you to all the great businesses that support the show. If you like what we are doing here, make sure you follow us and support the businesses that support us.
Welcome back to the Crime Prevention Security System Studios, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. South State Bank, we understand that small businesses need a community business partner that they can rely on. South State has 4 convenient Alachua County locations. South State Bank, banking forward, member FDIC. I want to thank JC for joining us on the Titan MR Hotline. I guess he and I will always disagree on this. I'll get Chris Harry's thoughts on it as well. Chris, good morning. You're on the Titan MR Hotline. How you doing, my man?
Good morning, Shane. If you talk to JC, I'm sure Alabama came up in the conversation, right?
Well, a little bit. You know, it's we were discussing how I say college sports. We all know it's changing. He tried to argue with me that there's always change, and that's not what I was arguing about. I don't like it. It's my opinion. The bidding wars for athletes is not right, in my opinion, for college sports. But I want to get your thoughts on that. But I want to talk basketball real quick. Gators hadn't played in about 2 weeks. I guess Stony Brook was the last game. How much have they been practicing? Will we see a full roster tonight?
I mean, it's actually they've played 2 games in the last 24 days. So this will be the 3rd in 25. So that's a long time without playing basketball. But Florida went into the COVID pause last week. They lost their Ole Miss game. That one was canceled. That was going to be the SEC opener. That was the only game last week in the conference that was canceled, I believe, in terms of league games. So the way the new guidelines are, Shane, it's obviously it's not just in sports, but it's national now. It's not 10-day quarantine; it's 5. So they had to wait a while. It didn't just hit a couple guys; it hit a bunch of guys. And if you know the SEC rules or the NCAA rules, if you don't have 8 scholarship players, you can't participate. So that can give you an idea of how many guys it hit. But the first real practice they were able to really get up and down a little bit was New Year's. New Year's Day, which was Saturday. Yeah, Saturday. They were able to do a little bit more with a few more guys the next day. So they're going to be, if not, they're going to be real close to full strength. The interesting thing about this is what's Alabama going to be, because you haven't heard anything out of there. One other game, I think Missouri and Mississippi State was canceled. So this is going to happen. Okay, I don't. It's not going to be like last year. Last year, Florida lost 3 games to the COVID pause. But at the same time, you played the sport. You know how important practice is. Okay, if the guys don't go close to a week, because remember this happened right after holiday break, so they come back, they can't practice. So you're talking about a full week of not doing stuff, and that can catch up to guys. And then we talk about not doing stuff with each other, that can lead into taking some steps back relative to chemistry and everything. And Florida wasn't playing great last month, and it's going to be a tough out to all of a sudden put it all together against an Alabama team, which frankly is you can throw them into not only the SEC championship contention but the national championship contention, because they got a very, very good team. They're not perfect. But they're a team that's very hard to match up for, very hard to stay with up and down the floor. They already beat Gonzaga in Seattle, for God's sake. So if they can do that, they can beat anybody.
Yeah, they're very, very talented. The COVID policy, Chris, the SEC, and I don't know if it's an NCAA deal or SEC, but initially, if you didn't have enough players, you had to forfeit a game. And then they came back and changed that policy to last year's policy, correct?
I believe so, yes. I mean, I don't remember any forfeiture of games.
Well, I thought initially this year we were going to have to forfeit the game against Ole Miss, but then the SEC came back and said, no, we can postpone it, or we can play it at a later date.
That was never. I never heard the word forfeit relative to the Ole Miss game. What's going to happen is, do you remember last year? Like this team canceled and this team canceled, and the postponed game just happened to that. There happened to be 2 teams that have canceled that you can reschedule for that date. You happen to land on a day where your opponent is canceled and the other team's opponent is canceled, so maybe you could replay it. So they're just kind of. I think that's what it's going to be now. And then what happens with the standings at the end of the season? If they happen to be uneven, some teams playing more than others, then they're just going to have to deal with that.
Okay, maybe I misread that. Man, all right. So looking at the Gators, they got Alabama tonight, but the next 3 or 4 games is as tough as I've ever seen. So it's LSU, Auburn, and who else?
It's Auburn, right? It's Auburn Saturday. And, I mean, Auburn's playing as good as any team in the country. I think you and I had a conversation. Jabari Smith's going to be the best, probably going to be the first player taken in the draft. The comparisons right now are to Kevin Durant. They're saying he's not Kevin Durant, but when Kevin Durant was the second pick in the NBA draft, he wasn't Kevin Durant either. But this guy, Bruce Pearl knows what Bruce Pearl does. He has a fast team. They up and down the floor. They shoot a lot of threes. They recruit a lot of same guy. This guy's a little different because he's a 6'10" guy who can run, who can block shots. He's going to rebound. He's kind of a matchup nightmare. That's going to be a very, very difficult game for Florida. Then they flip it around and they have LSU at home next Wednesday night. LSU just beat Kentucky last night. They're typical LSU team that we've seen in the last couple of years. And people talk about those first 3 games. Let's not forget the 4th game. They go to South Carolina and play. Florida doesn't match up well against South Carolina, or hasn't historically over the last few years. So quite a rough road for the Gators early on in the conference schedule.
Yeah, it really is. So back to tonight's game. I think it's a 7:00 game on ESPN2 against Alabama. Do you expect, and maybe you can or cannot tell us, but do you expect us to have full roster tonight?
I expect it's going to be close, if not full. Yep, I do. Guys were back in practice. Some guys weren't cleared to completely go. But again, I say this all the time, subject to change. I got a headline on a story that I put up in Florida. Get the game's on for now. So the SEC flag drops for the Gators tonight, and it's going to be a very difficult game against Alabama, to be sure.
Yes, it is. All right, so Chris, let me ask you this, because JC and I had a heated argument about this new NIL. I think college football right now is a mess. You got the Caleb Williams, who's probably the top quarterback in America. Basically, it's a bidding war. We know there's been some sketchy stuff in college basketball over the years, especially in our conference. A few schools that we're getting ready to play, by the way, in the next couple of weeks. And maybe I just haven't paid much attention, but has the Kentuckys, the Auburns, and the LSUs offered any of these guys $2-3 million NIL deals recently?
I mean, I don't know the ins and outs of that. I don't even think I know the ins and outs of the rules of the name, image, and likeness situation right now. But to say it's changing obviously is an understatement. It's going to become a bidding war for these guys. And to your point, I mean, it's been like that behind the scenes. Now they've just ripped the scab off, and everything's going to be out there in the open. And I think that the schools and the athletic departments that are the most proactive and the most organized in terms of doing what you can do within the rules are going to be at a great advantage. I'm sure it won't be long until we see the first person with the title associate athletic director in charge of NIL or something like that. Now, there's rules about what you can and can't do from inside the program in terms of setting stuff up for guys. But the middlemen, the lawyers and stuff, there's so much that it's so wide open now in terms of what they can do before they get to campus. It's just it's free agency, Shane. It's free agency.
And I don't have a problem with free agency, but it's got to have a cap. The others, the pro sports have
a salary cap,
right? Because it's to me, it's ruining the sports, not just football. And maybe I'm just too old school, but for a kid to be sitting there being bid on and going to the highest bidder for college athletics, I just do not think is right. I don't give a damn what's changing in the world. I don't think it's right. You might as well just let the kid go play pro ball. Change the rule and let them go straight from high school to the pros.
I mean, all I can say to that is, and I know what you're saying, and you're getting a little curmudgeon-y on this thing because it's not going back the other way.
No, I know it's not. I know.
I mean, for someone who's probably 12 years younger than me, you sure sound like a get off my lawn guy right now, Shane. But I am. And I understand that because you have a love for the game the way it was, and there's so much stuff. If you didn't know this stuff was going on and could just watch the game, you'd be okay with it, right? But all this stuff is going on, correct?
Right. Yeah.
Right. I mean, yes, and yes.
Because I look at the quarterback position, and let's use Caleb Williams for example. Everybody knows he was the number one high school quarterback coming out. Went to OU, played really well this year as a true freshman. Now he's in the portal. Let's just say Billy Napier wanted him. Okay, mm-hmm. We already know that Georgia supposedly is offering a little over $2 million. Well, what if Billy Napier's like, look, we technically as coaches, we can't get involved. They can't get involved with the NIL stuff. But we can't find a booster to pay this kid. So we're going to lose him to our arch rival.
I was going to say he's going to go to Georgia then probably, right?
That's what I'm saying. And I just, that bothers me. The whole bidding process bothers me. And, it is what it is. I know it's not going back. I just think it's going to ruin sports.
Wasn't there a story before the season even started about the University of Miami everybody at Miami getting some kind of
they all got a deal. I have no problem with that.
And how much was that for?
It was like $600,000.
$500,000 each. So why is it?
No. Each kid got like 500. I mean 5,000. It's even the walk-ons. Yeah, each kid got 5,000, which is fine.
Yeah, which is fine. That's fine. But I mean, did that happen? Did everyone get that? I mean, if that's
We don't know.
If
really
that's happening, why isn't everyone going to Miami?
No.
That's
well,
for a
because
short
$5,000 ain't enough when you talk $2 million. Daniel's got a question on here brought to you by Meldon Law, the only personal injury attorney for the Florida Gators. Let me pull it up here for you. Where did it go? Dadgummit. Oh, it's from John. He says, speaking of sketchy situations, how is Will Wade still coaching?
And he's winning, and he's recruiting, and they have a damn good team. I think they started last week. They were one of 5 teams that were still unbeaten. Now they lost that first game of the season in a good game against Auburn. They fell behind early, but came back and made it competitive or whatever. But we saw what happened with the Auburn situation. That all rectified itself, and nothing really happened there. They put themselves on a 1-year postseason ban last year when they knew they were going to be bad, and it worked. I don't know how LSU is going to rectify their situation. So far, the only team that's really been whacked, or the only coach from who came out of that FBI thing, head coach that's been had any kind of stuff happen to him, I guess was Sean Miller out at Arizona, who was obviously a casualty with that, but it's still going on, man. And they say it's supposed to rectify itself this year. Kansas also. There's some other
things. It doesn't really matter now.
Still twisting and win. Yeah. I mean,
everything they were doing is legal now.
Well, there you go. So maybe that'll be when he takes it to court. We know the NCAA is scared to death of going to court about anything. Yeah. So for those of us who remember the way it was, all this stuff was behind the scenes. Now it's right out there. Taking the masks off, it's kind of like COVID. Everyone's taking their masks off now, doing what they do.
All right, Chris, before we let you go, last thing, switching gears from basketball to football, Napier's hired a ton of people, but he's bringing back an old Gator, which I think a lot of people are excited. Mike Peterson's coming back, coach inside linebackers, and he's going to be he's got another title too. Everybody's got these long titles that Billy hires. What do you think about that hire?
Well, I mean, I haven't seen an official announcement about that yet, but I did see the speculation by social media and what have you. And, Mike was here when I first got here 10 years ago. He was also here, obviously, when I covered the team in the 90s. One of the most beloved teammates during that Spurrier era, a guy who was really underappreciated, I believe, as a player for what he did. He was right in the middle of all those great championship teams. A local guy. Was he at South Carolina? Was he a position coach or was he a strength coach? Because he was assistant strength coach here.
Yeah, he was a strength coach here. Muschamp took him up there and he coached linebackers. Yeah,
and I mean he's charismatic. He played in the NFL for years. Became during the time you were in the NFL, he was another I guarantee when you were in quarterback rooms and you're scouting up against the teams that the Falcons or the Colts, I guarantee you had to account for Mike Peterson because he was just that kind of guy, and I imagine that he's going to be that kind of guy. And I love the fact that they're bringing back a Florida guy to be on the staff, someone who wore the uniform. It'd be nice to see a little bit more of that. But Billy Napier obviously has a plan, obviously pushing some buttons that are getting fans excited, and he will come on the court tonight at halftime of the Alabama-Florida game to give a wave to the fans. I imagine there'll be some people standing in the O-Dome when that happens.
Absolutely. We got a question, Facebook Live, brought to you by Meldon Law. Andy wants to know, will Colin Castleton be a first-round draft pick?
You asked him, is Colin Castleton? I would say no.
Will he be a first-round pick?
No. I would say no to that right now. I wouldn't say he's a projected first-round draft pick. I will say that to be honest with you, what we're hearing in terms of NBA and who they're coming to look at the most right now, it's Anthony DeRuggi because he's a positionless kind of perimeter player who can also mix it up inside, wildly athletic, very bouncy, plays hard. When he's at his best, that's the guy that the NBA players look at. And if you call up mock drafts, you see his name. Colin Castleton could sneak in there. Obviously, he spent a lot of time in the NBA evaluation process last year, but he's not a guy right now, but he's improving, and he's certainly helped himself from where he was this time last year when a lot of people didn't even know he was a hadn't done much guy who came here from Michigan. I will say this: Alabama has probably 4 guards who are going to be drafted. One of them, this freshman JT Davison, he doesn't even start, and hasn't even scratched the surface how good he could be. But he's probably going to be a lottery pick, maybe not this year, but probably next year. They got 4 guys who are going to get drafted.
They've signed some really high-starred guys at Alabama recently. Chris, real quick, talking about the NBA, how many Gators do we have in the league right now? Do you know right off the top of your head?
Does Udonis Haslem count? I guess he does, right? Yeah.
What year is he in?
Well, he graduated. His last year, I think, was 2002. So remember, he went overseas. Yeah, so he's in his 20th season with the same team. Again, he went overseas and changed his whole body. Remember when he came back and he won that title and showed up with the Miami Heat and Dwayne Wade, he looked like a completely different guy than the Dimitri Hill light guy he was when he was playing for those first really good Billy Donovan teams. But him is Al Horford. Help me out here.
Brad Beal.
Brad Beal obviously is one of the best 2 guards in the league. Dorian Finney-Smith is still in the league. Chris Chioza is with Golden State. Obviously Trey Mann. Scotty Lewis has been up and down on the Charlotte Hornets list.
I've seen some clips of Trey Mann dunking the basketball. Holy cow.
Like tomahawk dunking on dudes, right?
Yeah, I was like, who is this guy?
Yeah, so it's funny because the head coach at Oklahoma, Oklahoma City, Mark Dagnall, was here for 4 years as Billy Donovan's assistant to the head coach, and they just love everything about what he's been able to do so far. They're bouncing him a little bit back and forth G League to the NBA roster, and even he's not on a 2-way. But for some reason, there's some kind of rules that enable them to do that for some reason. But I know he's been hurt lately, but they really, really like him as a kid, really like his potential as a player. And the kid's only 20 years old.
Yeah. Well, good stuff, Chris. We appreciate it. Everybody can check Chris out on Twitter as he tweets during the basketball game, which I don't know how you do that because the game moves. So you're doing it on your laptop. You're not on your phone.
No. Oh, hell no. Yeah, like the Blackberries don't exist anymore, Shane. Okay. Yeah, that's 85 true. Words a minute, I think. 85 words a minute.
And they can follow you on Twitter at Gators Chris, correct?
Correct.
All right. Appreciate it, Chris Harry. We'll talk to you soon, buddy.
Take care, man.
That's Chris Harry from FloridaGators.com. Join us. We're going to take our last time out, come back, and wrap up this Wednesday edition.
We want to take this moment to thank all our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Meldon Law, won't back down. Peachland Dental, Gator Nation's first choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte. Comfort Temp, comfort is our business, peace of mind is our promise. QC Kinetics, live pain-free with QC Kinetics. Great Clips, it's gonna be great. Our Gridiron sponsors are Auto ER, UF Bookstores, Celebration Point Town Center, South State Bank, Chris Doring Mortgage, Silverback Concrete Co. Some of our touchdown sponsors are MB Listing, McDonald's of Gainesville, My IT Masters, Gainesville Neon and Signs, 84 Lumber, Tropical Smoothie Cafe, Ava and Smith, Dowling Signs, Baker's Sporting Goods, Ruse Ogra Agent, State Farm Insurance, Silver Cube Billiards and Sports Bar. If you are interested in promoting your business on the show, visit potupwithshane.com and click the advertise button. Again, thank you to all the great businesses that support the show. If you like what we are doing here, make sure you follow us and support the businesses that support us.
Welcome back to the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. Chris Doring Mortgage, they do mortgage lending right, helping home buyers throughout Gainesville and North Central Florida. Call Chris Doring Mortgage today at 352-244-0840. I want to thank Chris Harry for joining us on the Titan More Hotline. Toby says here on Facebook Live, brought to you by Meldon Law. Hey, QB, what's your take on Diabate transferring to the Utah Utes? Good place to go play, man. They're a very disciplined football team. I think at times he could play undisciplined, so you won't play there if you're not disciplined. But I think Diabate is a guy that can run around and make plays if he's got players around him doing their responsibility to help him do that. I don't think we had that here, so I think it's a good fit for him. He'll be in the Swamp week 1 against the Gators. Let's see. Rick says, "Well, I am woke up after the JC segment. I want to go fight somebody." It's not. It's difference of opinions. Is what that is, Rick. Everybody's got their own opinions, right? And I know change is happening. I'm not debating that. I just don't think it's right for kids to for there to be a bidding war. I have no problem with kids getting, deals at restaurants, car dealerships, what have you. When we start paying $2 and $3 million for kids to, choose a school, I just don't think that's right. You might as well sit out, work out, train, and go play in the National Football League if that's what you want to do. Anyway, today's show's a wrap, brought to you by Wrap Spot. Enjoy your day, folks. We'll see you tomorrow.